In July 2024, Ghana's inflation rate dropped to 20.9%. This indicates a 1.9 percentage point drop from the 22.8% recorded in June. The Ghana Statistical Service reports that in June 2024, food inflation decreased to 21.5% from 24.0%, and non-food inflation decreased to 20.5%. In a news conference, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Annim said that the inflation rate for imported goods had similarly decreased from 17.5% to 15.6%. He ascribed this to the cedi's stability in July 2024. Well, joining me now to discuss this is financial analyst and investor advisor Patrick Abankwa. Thank you for joining us, Patrick.
Thank you for having me this morning on your show.
All right. So what are the primary factors that contribute to the decline in Ghana's inflation rate from June to July 2024?
I would say that the decline in Ghana's inflation, as you rightly said, from June to July 2024, can be attributed to several interconnected factors. I think the first that we all need to know is the stabilization of the exchange rate within the last 2 or 3 months. Don't forget, we started the year with the cedi depreciating very fast against the US dollar and the euros and pounds. But for the last 2 or so months, the rate of depreciation has stabilized. And that meant that the rate at which prices were going up have also come down a bit or slowed. Secondly, government's measures to control monetary expansion, such as tightening their monetary policy, have also contributed to cooling down the economy within the period. Additionally, you can also look at the gradual improvement in our food supply, particularly with the harvest season underway, which has eased price pressures on essential food items. Then, of course, the declining trend in the global commodity prices, especially with fuel, has also dampening effect on the economic challenges that we are facing. So once that improves, it means that domestic inflation will also improve.
All right. Anyway, let's look at why is the inflation rate for locally produced items still higher? It's at 23.3%. I mean, despite the overall decrease in inflation.
Ghana, historically, we still have issues with our structural challenges. And that leads to inefficiency with our production and distribution chains when it comes to food inflation. And that's coupled with the fact that we still have a relatively weak currency, which sometimes contributes to elevated costs for these local producers. The pass-through effect of high energy prices in Ghana, particularly for electricity and fuel, on the production process, exposes some inflationary pressures for these local producers. And that means that, additionally, if we continue to rely on imported raw materials and components that these local sellers have to add to their costs, it leads to an amplified cost pressure for these local manufacturers. And that's why we see local and domestic inflation being higher for food as compared to the overall inflation of the country.
All right. Anyway, what impact do the high inflation rates in sectors like electricity, housing, water, and also gas have on the broader economy?
Inflation on the housing, water, electricity, for me, they have significant ripple effects on the broader economy because one, they erode purchasing power of the consumer. It reduces consumer disposable income and also dampen the overall consumption pattern of consumers. Moreover, these sectors are crucial inputs for businesses, and increased costs can lead to higher production expenses, reduce profit margins of this business, and potentially sometimes even lead to job losses. So pressures can hinder economic growth, which can lead to income inequality in most cases and create some social unrest. And that's why these sectors are critical, that government over the years have to put an eye on them because they are holding the general fiber of our finance as a country.
My final question to you would be, what are the potential risks that could reverse the current downward trend in inflation, and how can they be mitigated?
The first that comes into mind is the resurgence of global commodity prices, particularly oil, which will reignite the inflation pressure that Ghana has been going through. Another issue is an issue of exchange rate volatility, which usually is triggered by external shocks or domestic policy uncertainties, which poses another risk. Supply chain, as we have seen in the last 2 years because of Ukraine, Russia, also has an impact that can reverse the trend that we are seeing. And of course, adverse weather conditions affecting food production can also lead to food price inflation. To mitigate this, I think government should maintain a tight fiscal and monetary policy stance whilst implementing measures to enhance supply side capacity. Again, we have been talks of diversifying the economy away from commodity dependence and investing in infrastructure to improve productivity, which can build a resilient economy against external shocks. And I think that when we do this, government should also put an eye on targeting some social safety net and help and cushion the impact of inflation on their lives, because these are the vulnerables in the society that we need to always support as a country.
All right. I want to say thank you so much, financial analyst and investment advisor Patrick Abankwa, for being here this morning.
Thank you very much, sir.